How y'all doing, everybody? It's me, Crazyfrankie, and I'd like to welcome you to my NFL 2025 NFL Playoffs picks for the Divisional Round. Before we talk about the Divisional Round, quick thoughts from Wild Card Weekend. And I must say, when I did that video last week, when I mentioned at the end that this might be maybe one of the better Wild Card matchups we had possibly in a very long time, because lately the first round has not been kind to the NFL. A lot of games weren't that great, but I will say that the majority of the games last weekend in the wildcard round were good. They were pretty good, except for two games. One of those games I really don't want to get into because the Chargers Chargers really took a big dump in their pants in the game against the Pats, and the Steelers basically getting whooped by Houston. And obviously, before, as I record this video, at the time of this video, I just found out that Mike Tomlin has been stepped down, and the Chargers have gotten rid of their OC and their line coach, which I say good, because that was a dismal performance. And I don't want to be too biased on that game and all that, because those games are terrible. But possibly the biggest story of the weekend was definitely the Bears with another heroic comeback, or what I say, the Packers gagged again. The two games in Soldier Field, the one in Week 16 and then last weekend. Packers, how did this happen? You blew a 21-3 lead. You basically had the Bears on the ropes. You could have blown them out in this game, and yet you decide what? I'm not even sure what Matt LaFleur and talked about at halftime. How did they just gagged in this game? I'm really dumbfounded. They gagged twice. Week 16, they lost in overtime, and in the divisional round, the Bears took the lead in the end. How did this happen? Look, you really can't say for the excuses. Obviously, the injuries were the big issue, and not having Michael Parsons and all. But really, it basically was the offense. The third quarter was a disaster for them. Punt that they had in their first three possessions in the third quarter. That is just, it's a head scratcher. How did they blow this game? The Bears are moving on. The Packers, the cheese has been shredded. And go look at those videos on YT, and you'll see what I mean. Boy, they really bring that rivalry back, and that's a thing of beauty in the NFL. Bills beating the Jaguars. I kind of wasn't surprised by this, because the Jaguars didn't run the ball effectively. I knew it was going to come back to bite them. The Bills had luck on their side, especially with that fourth down challenge that they easily won. That definitely saved their hides, and it definitely was a huge factor in them winning that football game. But obviously, the Bills lost Davis for the remainder of the playoffs. He's done. So they're down one wide receiver, and let's see what happens the rest of the way. The Bills, can they finally get over that hump? Well, we'll find out when they play in the divisional round. Rams, I don't know what's going on with this team. You had a big lead in the first half, and then you let the Panthers play and stick around. There's definitely some problems on that defense. But their offense, I was surprised they weren't in sync. But luckily, the fourth quarter, that Parkinson really was the one that saved them, making a big play in the end to give the Rams the lead, and their defense finally finished the job as well. And the Rams somehow barely beat the Panthers, and they got to end. Let's see what happens when they play the Bears. How about the 49ers on the road beating the Eagles? And the Eagles fired Patullo. Patullo was part of the problem. His play calling and all did not make any sense. And it really cost the Eagles that football game, for sure. Let's see what happens in the offseason if they can get a much better OC, but it's going to be hard. Could they pursue Mike McDaniels, maybe? I don't know. But the 49ers, losing Kittle, though, that's huge. I don't know how far along, especially with all the injuries they have, how far can they go, especially with everybody, nearly half the roster is on the IR. It's tough to say, because they got a tough one against the Seahawks coming up this weekend. And, of course, the Chargers. You get rid of your OC and your lines coach. The reason why. Justin Herbert almost went RIP in this game. Rest in peace. Now he's become the if quarterback. He has not won a playoff game. And I have to say there's a fair share of criticism for this guy. And as far as the Steelers goes, I don't know if if this will be Rodgers' last game. Obviously, now with Tomlin stepping down, I think Rodgers should pretty much either retire or who knows where he's going to go. All right, let's talk about now the divisional round. I will begin with the AFC first and then the NFC after that. All right, let's do the first AFC divisional game. It is the Bills versus the Broncos. The Broncos are a 1.5-point favorite. I will not be shocked if this goes down to 1. Josh Allen in the big victory last week against the Jaguars in the wildcard round, 28 of 35, 273 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. That was huge. The interceptions were no interceptions in that game really was a big factor. Now the questions are in this football game here. Can Bo Nix and the offense get it going? Because they really have struggled down the stretch. And obviously getting that bye week. And obviously they got the home field and you know how the altitude is in Denver. Can they get it going? Can their defense neutralize the Buffalo Bill offense? And when I think about it, R.J. Harvey's going to have to be very big in this game since they don't have Dobbins in the run game. And Franklin and Ingram, they got to find a way to shred that Bills defense because that Bills defense isn't all that good. Their offense has got to find a way to make big plays in order to get through the Bills. And you know that Bill defense isn't really that great. But on Buffalo's side, Cook really was a bit neutralized against the Jaguars. He didn't run all that much, but it was enough to get them the win. Can Cook get that running game going and pounding through that Denver defense? Shakir, Coleman, Kincaid, and Knox, they're going to have to be big in this game since they don't have Gabe Davis. And somehow, some way, their defense has got to find a way to make plays. They got to find a way to get some takeaways, or this game is going to go back and forth, and who knows who's going to win in the end. Very tough to say who's going to win this football game here. It's a 50-50 toss-up who wins this game here because there's a lot of question marks on that Broncos offense. I got to pick who's going to win this game. I'm gonna keep going with the hot hand here. I think the Bills will find a way to upset the Broncos. Because I don't know what kind of play calling that Sean Payton has. Hopefully he's got something up his sleeve against the Bills. Because lately I do have a lot of questions in what kind of the offensive kind of plays they're doing. Because basically their defense has basically been saving them. You could say the same thing with the Texans. But I really think what Sean Payton will find a way to cost them the game. Because there's a lot of questionable calls in terms of screens and being able to run the ball effectively. I think the Bills are going to find a way to win. The Bills are on a mission, and even though they're not the strongest team in the playoffs, but somehow, some way, they will find a way to win. It's going to be a close game for 4 quarters, but it's going to be just like Jacksonville. The Bills are going to find a way to win, and somehow I could see Josh Allen going Josh Allen in this game as well to find a way to get to the AFC Championship. I'm picking the Bills in this one here. It's a tough pick. It's a 50-50 toss-up. I don't know who wins this game. Bills at plus 1.5. They'll find a way to beat the Broncos. And the other AFC divisional game, it is the Texans versus the Patriots. Patriots are a 3-point favorite, and it wouldn't surprise me if it goes to 2.5, maybe 2. C.J. Stroud, 21 of 32, 250 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception in a big victory last week against the Steelers. Drake May went 17 of 29, 268 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and a huge victory against, well, not so much as I would say a big victory over the Chargers, but it was good enough to win. For the Texans to win this game, C.J. Stroud is going to have to play a lot better than he did. Even though despite the 250 yards of offense, but that 1 interception, and he struggled they struggled a lot with the snaps. They're going to have to find a way to play a lot better than this because given that the Patriots have better playmakers than the Chargers do, who's to say that their playmakers will shred their defense? Woody Marks has got to find a way to get that running game going for the Texans. And can Christian Kirk and Dalton Schwartz, they're going to have to be really big in terms of helping C.J. Stroud out. Because Nico Collins is questionable right now for this game against the Patriots. For the Patriots to win, Stevenson and Henderson got to be able to run against that Texan defense. They got to be able to pound the run and wear out this defense. Diggs, Booty, and Henry have got to also find a way to shred that Houston D. The Texans D is good. But they have some pretty good playmakers. And who's to say they'll find a way to shred that defense? Who do I have winning this football game here? I'm picking the Patriots. They got the playmakers. But I will say, though, that if the Texans defense finds a way to get to Drake May, because you got to give the Chargers defense a ton of credit. They were able to get to Drake May pretty decent in that game. Could it be the same thing, though? But I still think the Patriots will find a way to win in this football game. You got to give Mike Vrabel a ton of credit about how he's got this team believing in themselves. It's going to be a very tight football game all the way. Because if CJ Stroud struggles in this football game, the Pats are going to take advantage. It's not a sure pick. I'm going to pick the Patriots at -3. The Texans defense is good. But somehow, some way, I still see the Patriots finding a way to win. It's a tough pick. I'm picking the Patriots at -3. I think they'll beat the Texans. Moving over now to the NFC. NFC Divisional game. Number 1, it is the 49ers and the Seahawks. The Seahawks are a 7.5-point favorite. I wouldn't be shocked if this number goes down. Brock Purdy was 18 of 31, 262 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, despite them winning against the Eagles. Questions for the 49ers. Now that they don't have Kittle, can they win without him? Brock Purdy's going to have to play much better in this football game because the Seahawks defense is not a joke. They may not be Legion of Boom, but their defense can find a way to frustrate Purdy as they did in that Week 18 matchup in Santa Clara. McCaffrey's got to be able to run the ball a little bit more better in this football game. Jennings and Robinson, they're going to have to be really big to help out Brock Purdy in this game since they don't have Kittle. And how much can their defense hang on and survive, given all the injuries they've had? Now on the Seahawks side, now the question is going to be for Sam Darnold. Can he finally win a playoff game? Because he was terrible last year against the Rams. They fell apart. He fell apart in that game. Can he finally break through? Walker and Charbonnet have got to be able to run against that San Francisco D, wear them out, since they're really down to their 5th, 6th, and 7th stringers in that defense. And there's no question, JSN, Cooper Kupp, and Shaheed, they got to be able to shred that 49ers secondary in order to win this football game. They got to really help out Darnold in this game to get him over that hump and win finally a playoff game. Who wins this football game here? Wow. It's 50-50 who wins this game despite the Niners' injuries. But I'm going to go with the Seahawks. I think Darnold will finally get that playoff win. Their defense is going to save them. I think, to me, the 49ers' luck is going to run out. Seahawks defense is no joke, and they did a great job against that San Francisco offense in Week 18. And I think it's going to be the same thing since no Kittle. That's really hurting. That's going to really hurt their offense. It's really going to hurt the 49ers offense. It's going to be a close game. I think it'll be a low-scoring game, to be honest. But I think the Seahawks will pull out a victory in this game here. I'm picking the Seahawks at -7.5. I think they'll beat the 49ers. And finally, the last divisional game, NFC divisional game, the Rams versus the Bears. The Rams are a 3.5-point favorite. I wouldn't be surprised if this number goes to 3. Matthew Stafford was 24, 42, 304 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception in a game they barely escaped against the Panthers. Caleb Williams went 24, 48, 361 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions in that big comeback win against the Packers. There's question marks for Matthew Stafford. He was pretty banged up in that game against the Panthers, especially his throwing hand. So they're saying he's questionable, but he's definitely going to play in this game. There's no question. You know you can't rule out Matthew Stafford at all, even despite some sort of small injury. But this is a sunny night. This is a nighttime game in cold weather. Can they get over the hump? Can the Rams win in cold weather? Because they haven't had a good track record of winning on the road, especially in the cold. Can Kyrie Williams he's got to be able to run against that Bears defense now that they're down 1. They're already down to 1. They already lost one of their defensive players. He's out for the season. I'm talking about the Bears defense. And Adams, Parkins, and Nakua, they got to find a way to break through that Bears secondary in order to win this football game. Now for the Bears, do they have another comeback in them? If they trail in this football game, do they have one more comeback in them? Swift and Mangani have got to be able to run against that Rams defense because there's some question marks against that Rams defense. Moore and Loveland are going to have to be really big against that Rams secondary. This is definitely the toughest pick of all of the games this weekend. Very tough pick. 50-50 wins this game. But who do I see winning this game? I'm going with the Rams. I think the Cardiac Bears run... I said that last week, and then they still came back and beat the Packers. But I don't think it's going to happen this time. I think the Rams will get the victory in this one here. I think they win. I think they win in the fourth quarter. They'll find a way to stop that Bears offense. I think the Cardiac Bears luck is going to run out. But you got to give the Bears a ton of credit here. They had a great season. Ben Johnson has turned that team around, and he's really will get them more. I think they might be an even bigger threat going into next season. But I think it's probably not going to be their time this year. I like the Rams in this one here. I think the Rams will beat the Bears in this football game. -3.5. All right, everybody. That's all of my picks for the divisional round. And I will catch you guys all next week when I make my AFC and NFC championship game picks. I will talk to you then next week. Take care, everybody, and let's enjoy this divisional round weekend.